Kabbalat Shabbat Live, coming to you from Finchley. It's fabulous to be with you. I've been running a couple of these with you, starting at the beginning of the lockdown process, and then we had one or two when people were starting heading back to shul. Now, thank God, there are most people back at shul, and Tefillah is returning to its song and glory together as a community. But it's been wonderful to hear also from so many people how much they've appreciated the US TV Kabbalat Shabbat being broadcast into homes. And I know that I've spoken to people over the last couple of days who said they were looking forward to tuning into this one. It's not always easy to get at. Some people are still ill. Some people are still isolating. Some people I know are on half term and said that even though they were going away, they didn't want to miss the Kabbalat Shabbat experience and the chance to join us. And I know one or two of my own congregants are in hospital at the moment, and one's just about to have some surgery and said that he would be joining us on Kabbalat Shabbat TV with the US. And so a refuah shlema to all of you who are unable to join us because you are unwell. But how wonderful that you are with us this evening. We're going to be singing the Kabbalat Shabbat service, or reciting the Kabbalat Shabbat service together. I'm going to be giving you the pages from the green Siddur, if you've got it that way around. And this one is a cherished copy that I have that was presented to me some years ago. Let me just show you there, by Rabbi Sachs when he was visiting me at the time in Australia. And in Australia at the moment, it's well into Shabbat. So we're going to be starting on page 258 in the Green Siddur with L'chun Ranana. And Kabbalat Shabbat is a series of psalms and one reading leading up to the end of L'chadodi, where we welcome in and formally accept Shabbat on ourselves. I say a series of psalms. There are 6 psalms corresponding to the 6 days of creation with which we start. And then L'chadodi at the end is the Kabbalat Shabbat, accepting Shabbat moment, the transition from psalms to song of our own. So please join me with Psalm 95 on page 258 and L'chun Ranana, which is a psalm really talking about creation, and it's a journey that we have through the Psalms from creation through to salvation. So L'chun ranana l'Adonai, nariah l'tzor yishenu. Nekadma panav b'todah, b'zimirot nariah lo, ki el gadol Adonai u'melech gadol al kol Elohim. אשר בידו מחקרי הארץ וטורפות הרים לו, אשר לא הים והוא עשהו, ויבשת ידיו יצרו, בו נשתחווה ונכרעה, נברכה לפני אדוני עושנו, כי הוא אלוהינו ואנחנו עם מריתו וצאן ידו, היום אם בקולו תשמעו, אל תקשו לבבכם כמריבה, כיום מסע במדבר, אשר ניסוני אבותיכם, וחנוני גם ראו פעלי. 40 שנה כותבדו, וממתו אל לבבהם, והם לא ידעו דרכי. אשר נשבעתי ויפי, אם יבון El Menuchati. Now I go to Psalm 96 on page 258. Having looked at creation in the first psalm, we now have a look a little bit at God, what Hashem has created, about peoples and values. So we've got the line Mishpachot Amim, the families of peoples, and Kiva Lishpot Haaretz. At the end, Hashem is going to judge the world. It's focused on the terrestrial, as against the next psalm, which we'll see in a moment. Shiru l'Adonai, shir chadash, shiru l'Adonai kol haaretz, shiru l'Adonai, v'archu shemo Vasru miyom yom Yeshuato, Sapru vagoyim kevodo, Bechol ha'amim niflotav, Ki gadol Adonai, Umehulal me'od, Norahu, Al kol Elohim, ay, Ki chol Elohei hamim elilim, V'Adonai shamayim asa, Hod v'hada lefanav, Oz v'tiferet b'mikdasho, Havul Adonai mishpachot ha'amim, Havul Adonai kavod va'oz, Havul Adonai kavod shemo, Tzu mincha ובאו לחצרותיו, וישתחוו לאדוני בהדרת קודש, חילו מפניו כל הארץ, אמרו בגויים, אדוני מלך, אף תיכון תבל, בל תימוד, ידין עמים במישרים, ישמחו השמיים ותגל הארץ, Yiramayam Omlo Yalo Sadai V'chol asher bo Az Yirananu kol hatziyah Lifnei Adonai kiva lishpot haaretz Yishpot tevel b'tzedek v'amim b'emunato ay 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 ay. See messages coming in, and I'm sort of squinting to see them because the screen's a bit away from me, but from Woodside Park and Milton Keynes, which is quite close to us here in Finchley, but also as we talk about the Haaretz, the entirety of the world. Somebody came up from Brazil there. Wonderful. Do keep those messages coming in and share a sense of global peace. Sunny Potter's Bar. Thank you, Alan. So having looked at the Hashem of creation and then coming down to the peoples of the earth, the next psalm we have, Psalm 97 on page 260, looks at Hashem, the earth and the heavenly powers. So we've gone to the mountains and the valleys, but also Hagidu Hashamayim Tzidko, all the heavenly bodies are going to speak to the beauty and majesty of Hashem, and also very significantly Tzidko, his righteousness. There's a theme going into Shabbat, which isn't just the idea of peace and menucha and sitting back and enjoying and filling ourselves. But this is also a time where the balance is put right, and the tzedek of the world, which is both justice but also tzedakah, the kindness of reaching out, recognizing our responsibilities to set things at peace because they are equitable in the world. That comes forward. So please join me now for Psalm 97 in the Green Siddur on page 260, and welcome to people in Whetstone Bonnet. Adonai malach tagel haaretz, Yismechu imim rabim, anan va'afel sevivav, tzedek u'mishpat machon kiso, eish lefanav telech utlahet saviv tzarav, heiru brakav tevel, ra'ata v'tachel haaretz, harim kedonag nemasu milifnei Adonai, milifnei Adon kol haaretz, Hagidu Hashamayim Tzidko, V'ra'u kol ha'amim kevodo, Yevoshu kol ovdei fesel, Hamithalalim be'elilim, Hishtachavu lo kol Elohim, Shama v'tismach Tzion, V'tagelna banot Yehuda, Leman mishpatecha Adonai, Ki ata Adonai elyon al kol ha'aretz, Ma'od na'aleita al kol Elohim, Ohavei Adonai sinura, shomer nafshot chasidav, miad reshaim yatzilem. Oh, zechor latzadik u'lishrei lev simcha, simchu tzadikim b'Adonai, v'hodu lezecher kadsho. It talks about the light of the righteous and the hearts of joy and the joy of tzaddikim, people who recognize the goodness and tzedek of the Almighty. We move from these statements of what ought to be to Psalm 98, which is about fulfillment. And not only should this happen, but it did happen with Israel. And this is the psalm now which takes a translation from the aspirational to the idea that God delivers. Mizmor shiru l'Adonai shir chadash, ki niflaot asa, Hoshia lo yimino, Uzaro kadesho di Adonai Yeshuato, Lenei hagayim gilat tzidkato, Zachar chasto ve'emunato, Leveit Yisrael, Rau chol afsei haaretz, Et Yeshuat Elokeinu, Hariu l'Adonai kol haaretz, Pitzru v'rananu v'zameru, Zamru l'Adonai b'chino, B'chino v'chol zimra, B'chatzrot v'kol shofar, Hariu lifnei hamelech Adonai, Yiram hayam umlo'o, Tevel v'yoshveiva, Naharot yimchau chaf, Yachad hareim yeranenu, Lifnei Adonai kiva, Yishbot haaretz, Yishbot tevel b'tzedek, Vamim b'mei sharim, ay, 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 na, 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 na. So it happened with Israel. Now we move on to Psalm 99, which is the last of the 6 Psalms, on page 262. And this comes from the idea of what happened with Israel to the idea that Hashem answers the human call. So it's not just his promise, God's promise to God's people. It's also Hashem responds to Moshe v'Aharon and his Kohanim, Ushmoel, to Samuel the prophet, and those who call out to him. And indeed, we too are able to call out to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We shouldn't just imagine that it's reserved for the great and the good. In fact, there's a wonderful comment of the Vilna Gaon who says that God listens to every person's prayer. And Vilna Gaon says, even to somebody who's climbing into the window of a house that he's about to burgle. And none of us should experience burglaries, and certainly not on Shabbat, where I know sometimes it does happen. It happened in friends in Finchley last Shabbos. But God listens to the prayer of the person who says, please, God, don't let me get caught. Thankfully, God doesn't always answer their prayer the way they want them to be answered. Please, God, he should answer our prayers the way that we deserve them, and correctly they should be answered. But every individual has the ability to call on Hashem. It's not just for the righteous, it's for all of us. But certainly we should model and emulate those who call on Hashem from a position of righteousness. Anyway, we're on page 262 in the Green Siddur and Psalm 99. Hashem answering the human call. Adonai malach yirgazu amim, yoshev kruvim tanut haaretz. Adonai b'tzion gadol v'ram hu al kol ha'amim, yodu shimcha gadol v'nora kadosh hu v'oz melech mishpat elhev. Ata konanta mesharim, mishpat utzedaka b'Yakov, ata asita, romamu Adonai leinu v'ishtachavu l'adam raglav kadosh hu. Moshe ואהרון בכהניו, ושמואל בקוראי שמו, קוראים אל אדוני, והוא יענם. בעמוד ענן ידבר עליהם, שמרו עדותיו, וחוק נתן למו. אדוני אלינו אתה ניתם, אל נושא היית להם, ונוקם על עלילותם. רוממו אדוני למשתחוו להר קודשו, כי קדוש אדוני אלוהינו. And now we're on page 264 and Psalm 29. We've jumped. The last 5 Psalms are all in order. The 6th Psalm is Psalm 29. And Psalm 29 is understood as talking about the giving of the Torah. So we've moved from creation through to righteousness, God as God of the world, God listening to the call of God delivering, listening to the call of humanity and individuals. And now we have the vehicle through which Hashem gives us the opportunity to not only communicate with him, but also to be servants of his and to be channels of godliness in the world, which is the shofar. And if you look through the Psalm 29 on page 264, you'll see that the word kol, meaning voice, appears 7 times, and that symbolic of many sevens, but the 7 days of creation and the opportunity for us to be integrated with Hashem in his world, in his rest on Shabbat. Mizmor LeDavid, havu ladnai b'nei elim, havu ladonai, kavod v'azai, havu ladonai, kavod shemosh, tachavu ladonai b'hadrat kodesh, kol Adonai al hamayim el hakavod yirim, Adonai al mayim rabim, kol Adonai ma'koach, kol Adonai behada, kol Adonai shover arazim, V'shabeh Adonai et hazeh, ha'ed hazeh halvanon, v'yarkidem k'mo egel levanon v'siyon, k'mo ben reim, kol Adonai chatzev la'avodesh, kol Adonai achil midbar, Yachil Adonai midbar kadesh, Adonai yachol el ayalot, vayechesof yarot, uvechalo kulo merkavod, Adonai lahamabul yashav yeshev Adonai melech l'olam, Adonai oz le'amo yiten, Adonai yevarech et amo v'shalom. Ai, ai, die, 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 die. It's not the tune I intended to sing at all. Anyway, this week's Parsha is Parashat Tetzaveh. And the Parsha is a strange one in a way, and not strange in some ways. It's the way it's not strange is it actually follows on almost directly from what's happened before it in Parashat Terumah, where we have the instructions for the giving of the Mishkan. We're in a new stage of the journey of Israel. And Sefer Shemot began with the exodus from Egypt, and we journeyed out of Egypt and came to Sinai and received the Torah. And then we've got after the laws, we've got this change of direction as we move into Truma and Tetzaveh. Often the two parshiot go together, but Truma and Tetzaveh, which talk about the creation of the Mishkan. And then a couple of weeks' time, we have, or next week as it falls now, we have Ki Tisa. and the golden calf, and then Vayakel and Pekudei, which talk about the creation of the Mishkan. So here we've got the instructions, later we've got the actual delivery and the creation. So, this Tetzaveh is part of the flow, following after Teruma, but it is unusual because it's the first Parsha, and indeed the only Parsha since the beginning of the book of Shemot, the only one through the entirety of the rest of the Torah, where Moshe's name is not mentioned. It just begins with Ata Tetzaveh, Ata Tetzaveh et bnei Yisrael. You should command the children of Israel. And the reason we're told that Moshe's name is left off, one of the allegorical reasons, is because Moshe said at the end of the golden calf, take me out of your book. I don't want to be part of whatever it is, the Torah scroll, whatever it is. Moshe says, I've failed. I haven't been a good leader. I'm responsible for what's happened under my watch, even though I was up a mountain. Makes us think about leadership and accountability. Take me out. And this parsha, which always coincides just before or just after Zayin Adar, which is Moshe's Yahrzeit. Though when we've got a leap year, we mark the Yahrzeit itself next month in Adar Sheni. I mean, this parsha is the parsha in which Moshe's name is taken out of. Doesn't exist in the laning at all. Hey, clearly it's addressed to him. V'ata tetzaveh, you should command the children of Israel. V'yikhu alecha shemen zayit, they should take olive oil, which is pure, in order to bring it up for the everlasting light, which should be eternally within the Mishkan. So it's unusual in as much as Moshe's name is not there. Tetzaveh, you should command. And often I ask bar mitzvah and bat mitzvah candidates coming up, what is a mitzvah? Ata tetzaveh, you should command. Mostly I get the answer from them, it's a good deed. Indeed, many mitzvot are good deeds. They're good deeds because they're obviously beneficial, giving tzedakah, and not murdering people, being kind, telling the truth. There are many obviously good deeds. And some are less obviously good. And eating matzah, delicious though it may be, if you like it, is less obviously good. But we say, Asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu. You sanctified us with your commands and commanded us to eat the matzah. I mean, what's good about eating matzah? Or what is good about not wearing wool with linen, the laws of shatnez, or slaughtering an animal in a certain way, or not eating certain types of animals or other animals? What is good about that? And the answer is that there is a connection that is brought into our lives, whether it is through the commemoration of what Hashem did for us in Yetziat Mitzrayim, in the Exodus, or saying that our relationship with livestock and mundane issues such as eating, each one of those needs to be done in a godly way, and God commands us at every level of our existence. They are good deeds because they are bridging deeds. They connect us with HaKadosh Baruch Hu and connect our mundane day-to-day lives with the Almighty. So Moshe is told, Ata tetzaveh, you should command. And indeed, and I'm not going to go to it now, the expression Ata tetzaveh only appears one other place in the entirety of the Torah, and that's where Joshua is told to prepare the Kohanim to get the ark across the river Jordan to go into the land of Israel. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, I'm going to do great things for you like I did with Moshe. And think about the context of him doing great things Moshe here is him taking Moshe out of the book. It is a leader who is removed. And Joshua, I'm going to make you great like the leader who is removed. What's going on? And in fact, if you look at the development of what carries on in our parsha here, we have the instructions to make the various things that go into the tabernacle and the clothes of the Kohanim, and particularly the Kohen Gadol. Ve'eleh bagadim asher ya'asu, these are the clothes that need to be made. Choshen ve'ephod ume'il, there needs to be the breastplate and what it's mounted on, and the cloak of the Kohen amongst the other garments that are there. And these need to be made, and it's given in the plural. So, Ata tetzaveh, Moshe, you command Bnei Yisrael, this is what needs to be done. And then after giving the things that they need to make, it says, V'lakachta et shtei avnoi shoham, you, personal, singular, Just you, Moshe, you need to take the stones which are going to go on the shoulders. V'samta et shtei ha'avanim al katvotav. Katvot ha'ephod. V'asita mishbechot zahav. You need to make the perimeter and the edge. V'asita choshen mishpat. You, in the singular, need to make the breastplate of judgment. Now, did Moshe have to do all of this by himself? Having told Tetzaveh, command, make everybody do it. Does Moshe need to do every individual detail himself? What is Bnei Yisrael supposed to be doing? And the Midrash Hagadol says on this, Talmud Lomav, Ata tetzaveh et Bnei Yisrael v'yikhu. It says you should tell the children of Israel, and they should take Hareze binyan av lekulan. This is an overarching instruction to all of them. Ma kan Moshe metzaveh, just here, as Moshe commands, v'Yisrael osin, the children of Israel need to do. Af lahalan, even also with the other things, Moshe metzaveh, Moshe gives the command, v'Yisrael osin, and Israel do. It's Moshe's responsibility to command, to instruct, and to guide, while it's Israel's responsibility to listen and to hearken and to do. And it's with that a number of the commentators identify that the word tetzaveh and tzivui, which means to command, is actually related to the word tsevet, which means team. And the idea of tzvata, bonding together, and friendship and companionship. We often think of a commander and a command as a top-down idea, but in fact we're told that the command itself is the bridge, and it brings people together. It brings ideas together. We've got a responsibility through our leaders and efficient and effective delegation, not just to rule on those below us, but actually to create the bridge of tzivui. And in the same way as God's commands to us, the commandments, the mitzvot, are ways of bringing HaKadosh Baruch Hu into our lives and everything we do. Similarly, and also effective leadership. There's a lot of discussion at the moment in the papers and in the news about what is good and effective leadership and how we're supposed to connect with those that we are leading. Effective leadership is something that builds bridges and bonds and creates a tsevet, a team. And that is our responsibility going into Shabbat, is to be partners of God, not only in the creative world of the 6 days of creation, but also in the day of rest and the celebration of God's presence as it just is in the world. And so with that thought of teamwork being something that is commanded to us, that we follow our leaders because they are building a bridge to something big and great. It's with that thought that we head into Lachadodi, which you'll find in the Green Siddurim on page 264. And just like all the other weeks, we'll be stopping just before the last verse, so that because that's the verse that we say that brings Shabbat in, or that we do as we are bringing Shabbat in our communities. So that I invite you to say at home. L'chadodi likat kala p'nei Shabbat nekabela. L'chadodi likat kala p'nei Shabbat nekabela. Shamo v'zacho b'dibor echad. Ishmianu elam yuchad. Adonai echad u'shemo echad. L'shem ultiferet l'tila. L'chadodi L'chadodi likat kala, p'nei Shabbat nekabela. L'chadodi likat kala, p'nei Shabbat nekabela. Likat Shabbat l'chu v'nelecha, ki meko haberacha, merosh mikedem nesucha, sof maseh b'machshva terila. L'chadodi L'chadodi likat kala, p'nei Shabbat nekabela. L'chadodi likat kala, B'nei Shabbat nekabela, מקדש מלך מלוכה, קומיצי מתורפך, רב לך שבט בעמק הבכה, ויחמול עלייך חמלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. התנערי מעפר קומי, לבשי בגדי תפתח עמי, על יד בן ישי בית הלחמי, כובע על נפשי גאלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. התעוררי, כי באורך ומאורי, אורי, שדברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לא תבושי ולא תקלני, מה תשתוכחי ומה תמי, בך יחסו אני עמי ונבנתך, ירלתי לה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. והיו למשיסה שוסייך, ורחקו כל מבלייך, יסיס עלייך אלוהיך, כמסוס חתן על כלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. ימין ושמאל תפרוצי, ואת אדוני תריצי, על יד איש בן פרצי, ונשמחה ונגילה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת nekabela. As I say, you should complete the final verse, Boi v'shalom, ateret bala, in the comfort and privacy of your own homes after the broadcast is finished. I wish you all a Shabbat Shalom. Thank you so much for joining us from as far away as Brazil all the way through to locally here in London. On behalf of US TV and Finchley United Synagogue, everybody, I wish you a Shabbat Shalom, a peaceful Shabbat, and good health to all your families. Thank you very much.